Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster. Want us to know how to make this frame on the right with the stars and stripes look like this frame on the left, which looks like it's wrapping paper wrapped around a picture frame. So basically I have these frames here separated and they're their own layer. So I locked the background layer so that I don't get it mixed up when I'm trying to choose one or the other. So let's first start with making a copy. I'm going to right click up here and choose duplicate. Now I have two layers of the exact same thing on top of each other. I'm going to go ahead and turn the bottom one off for a second, and on the top layer I'm going to cut out the center sections of the vertical sides. Let's start by grabbing the polygon tool, and I'm going to zoom in and start right at the corner here, come to the inside corner, come down here and left click right there and bring it out to the end. I can come back up here, double click. If I zoom out a little bit, hit delete, and now we just lost that section. Let's do the same thing over here. With our polygon tool, start right there, come to the center, come down to this corner here and click it, come over to the outside, click it, come back up here, double click, and that little jaggies, ants, marching ants as they call it, hit delete, and now we got rid of that. Now that we got these two sections as one piece, I'm going to separate these by cutting them in half. I'm going to draw a box around this top one, I'll right click and hit cut. And watch what happens up here. There's two layers. There's a bottom layer and there's a top layer. This will allow us to do drop shadows in two different angles. So now let's turn the background version of this object back on, and you can see I can just toggle it on and off right there. Now we grab the top layer, which is this one here. I'm going to right click and hit edit layer style. Watch what happens here. As long as I have the sunlight coming from the top, it's going to put a shadow on the bottom when I hit drop shadow. And you don't see much right now, but as soon as I make the opacity really dark, you can see it came in right there. We can make the distance a lot further or a lot less. So we can try to duplicate that, which is going to be somewhere around here. And then the size makes it really spread out like that, or we can bring it really tight and make it look like it's part of the paper right there. I think right around here is going to be good. This looks pretty good right around there. Now we take the opacity and we bring it down a little bit until it kind of matches. I kind of like it right there. It's a little harsher than this one, but it looks better that way. So remember these numbers, 30, 20, and 80. And now we're going to have to merge that effect onto this object, because if we do the same thing to this one, we're not going to be able to reverse the effect without it affecting this one. How do we do that? We come up here to this layer. See where it says effects here? We want to take that effects out and merge that effects into the layer. How do we do that? We right click and hit simplify layer. Watch, the effects just went away, and now it's permanently burned into that piece. Now we're going to pick the bottom one and do the same thing, but reverse the angle. So we go drop shadow, it was 30, 20, and 80, but it's on the wrong side. That's because this angle is coming from the top. As soon as we reverse it, watch what happens to the effect on the right. It comes back up to the top now where it's supposed to be. And now we can hit OK. I'm going to do the same thing. I want to marry that effect to that layer. It says effects here. If I right click and hit simplify layer, it married it to that layer. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now all we have to do is just clean that up by taking out the effect on the inside, so when we put a photo in there that the drop shadow isn't part of the photo. I'm going to grab an eraser at about 40 point, and I'm going to come up here and click it. I'll shift click over to this side, boom, and that gets rid of the effect. I can kind of do this and get rid of that. Come down to the bottom, choose that layer, of course, grab the eraser and click it here, click it here. So now that we got our frame looking so good, let's go ahead and put in a nice photo of 4th of July, and we're going to drag that into our project. As soon as I let go of the mouse button, it pops it right in there. And all we got to do is place the photo where we like it, and voila, just like that. To add even more 3-dimension, let's add a drop shadow between the frame and the photo. Check this out. I'm going to first lock everything here, choose, lock, choose, lock, choose, lock. That way I don't grab anything by mistake. The actual level of the picture, I'm going to choose that, make a new blank layer, and on that layer I want to draw a black shadow. So I'm going to grab the brush. Let's change the color from whatever it is to pure black. I'm going to hit OK. Grab a, say, I don't know, like a 250 soft brush here. It's nice and big. I'm going to shift click, boom, boom, and see what it's doing? Boom, shift click, boom, shift click, boom, and shift click. Next, we want to get rid of the outside portion of what we just did so that you don't see all of that mess out there. So I'm going to grab the polygon tool and make a box like this, like this, like this, and double click so it closes the box. Make sure that I have a drop shadow layer chosen. I'm going to right click and hit select inverse. It'll choose everything else but that. Hit delete and boom, it's all gone. I can hit Control D to get rid of everything else. And now all we have to do is play with the opacity of that layer. So I go from 100 to 0 and look what happens to the photo. It adds a little bit of dimension between the photo and the frame up above. So I'm going to bring it up to about 75%. That looks really good. As I toggle it on and off, you can see exactly what it adds, this dimension in there. Well, that's it for this tutorial. This is Rich calling it quits, saying over and out.